Today on Fresh Vintage, we're replacing the ignition switch in my 2005 Honda CRV. If your CRV is doing this, we have the step-by-step on how to fix this, so we're going to show you how to do it right now. So I'm in my 05 CRV, and you can hear when you go to start the CRV here, it sounds like it's buzzing or some kind of weird noise, and your ignition switch is directly under here. I'm going to move the phone over here so you can actually hear the buzzing. There's a relay behind this panel here, and that's what's causing the actual buzzing. And sometimes this works, so if I pull the key out, it worked that time. Other times I have to flip the key over and it works, but we're going to replace the actual ignition switch underneath here because that's what's causing that relay to buzz and not actually action and start the engine. Quick list on the tools: 10 millimeter socket to disconnect the negative battery terminal. We use this just to get into the plastic of the in between the upper and lower pieces of the steering column plastic here. And then we have a stubby number 2 Phillips and a longer number 2 Phillips. You might want to try number 1 Phillips if you have one, but these actually got the job done for us. So kicking things off here, we're actually under the hood, and we're just going to real quick undo and disconnect the negative battery terminal, just for safety reasons. I mean, you could probably get away with replacing the ignition switch without doing that, but we're going to play it safe. We don't want to blow anything out or blow a fuse or something. But let's actually go inside, and we'll start taking the steering column apart right now. So looking under the steering column, there's 1, 2, and 3 number 2 Phillips screws. So I'm going to grab my screwdriver and take those out, and then this bottom part will pull away, and we need to remove this bottom part and the top part here, because the actual ignition switch, this is the new ignition switch right here, it kind of lives right here, generally speaking. So I'm going to get those screws out of here and then pull this apart, and we'll see the old ignition switch right here. I have all 3 of our screws out, and you can see Honda left this nice little cubby hole for us to put our screws in, and this is loose. And what I'm trying to do now is not like damage the plastic, and I'm just popping this apart because you need to get this top half off so that you can actually get the bottom half off. There we go. There's that. And I'll get this disconnected so I don't end up breaking my stocks here. Okay, now it looks like we don't actually need to take the top half off. So here's our bottom piece. Note that this should be in here. I've seen videos where someone's been in here before and popped this apart, so this kick panel may fall out, but just keep that in mind. But our ignition switch is actually right here, and there are number 2 Phillips, if I remember correctly. There's one here, and then there's one underneath here. And just to show you on the new one for reference, you're looking at this screw here, and then there's another screw down here, so we need to get to that bottom one. I'm going to get underneath the steering column and find that other screw. If it ends up feeling like you're playing a game of Twister, then you're probably in the appropriate position to get to this bottom screw. I can see it. I just have to get a few of these wires out of the way. Looking at the angle here where you're at, your screw is going to be right back here, so you're going to have to get the screwdriver up through this wiring and move the wiring a little bit, but I'm going to move that, get that screw out of here right now. So forgive, it's kind of hard to see, but there's a bracket in the way here, but the Phillips screwdriver will get on there and get that screw loose. So I'm going to finish pulling this out and then get the other screw out next. So quick note, after trying this, I went into the house and I grabbed a stubby Phillips, and it's just short enough to where it makes this a lot easier for you. It probably would be easier to use underneath on this bottom screw as well, but we'll get this screw out, and then from here there's the electrical connector we just have to pop loose. So other screw is out, and I believe this should come off. Yep, it slides out like this and down. We want to disconnect this electrical connector. There we go. So here's our old one, and here's our new one. And I was curious if this would be clocked the same to this, and they are. They look like they're identical. So I'm going to reconnect the electrical connector and then work on putting this back in. Before I get that super tight, I want to give it a little bit of wiggle room in case I need it for this other screw. And if there's the number one area that's going to be a pain point, there I call it that, is going to be this screw underneath here. Honda did you no favors in their engineering of where this screw's at compared to where the bracket is underneath here. So after quite a bit of little finessing here, I managed to get this back in the correct hole. And I will note, I'm probably at about a 20-degree angle there, so your Phillips is not going to go in, straight. You're gonna put this screw in at kind of an angle, but just reconnecting the battery here. Before I put the column completely back together, I just want to give the key an actual shot here. Okay, so we hear it beeping, so that's good. And I'll let it finish beeping here. Okay. There we go. And just for the heck of it, I'll flip the key back around. Perfect. Okay, we're going to finish putting the column plastic back together and putting the screws back in, and we'll show you the finished product in just a moment. So you can see we have the plastic around the steering column back on. I just want to make a quick note that when I pulled these screws out, this one, which is slightly different, this came out of the bottom hole closest to where your kick panel is. And then these two are the same, and they came out of the upper two holes. But I'm going to reinstall these three right now. Real quick, I started with this bottom one, but it wasn't actually going into the hole underneath the steering column here. So I used these upper two to kind of center this plastic piece. So in theory, this bottom one should pop right in there. Yeah, there we go. So wrapping up here, we have the plastic on the steering column back together, and thing starts right up right now. And I can't tell you before we change the ignition switch how many times I would sit here and play with the key and flip the key and put the car in neutral, trying to get to start. In reality, it's that ignition switch. But definitely get this replaced yourself. We'll leave the link for the new ignition switch for the CRV here. This actually fits a lot of different Hondas from what I understand. So we'll leave the link for this in the description of the video you're watching right now. But if you like classic cars, if you like muscle cars, if you like keeping your cars certified fresh and DIYing and saving, Fresh Vintage is your channel. Please like and subscribe, and thanks for watching.